Welcome to Mayor's Night Out in the 3rd District. Welcome to Hammond Sportsplex. I appreciate you all being here. As we do every time we start off with new Mayor's Night Out, we get welcomed in by the district councilman. So let's give it up for our host councilman, Barry Tyler.
Good evening. Thank you for coming out tonight. Excited that it's finally springtime and we get to enjoy some of this beautiful weather. I'm always happy when we get to come here and have these meetings at the Sportsplex too, because I know for a lot of residents, this might be your first time here, or you might not get to visit here on a regular basis. So exciting that we have this type of facility right here within the 3rd District and can take advantage of it. And I think it gives you a chance to see the rest of the developments that are coming into our area with the expansion of Hutamaki, as well as the brand new YMCA that will be partially open later on this year in December. So there's a lot of exciting things I feel like happening over the district. You'll hear more about that from the rest of the department heads that will be able to share today. One of the things I wanted to touch on briefly is I've been getting a lot of text messages, phone calls, emails, and see a lot of through-and-one requests about cut and cleans, properties that are overgrown. That process is really just getting started in terms of citations, and I know our code enforcement department is on top of that. They just gave me a packet last week that has several dozen properties on that list, and so I know they've already been driving around, been taking note of the problem areas, and they're on top of it. But still, please continue to report those properties, and it just might take us some time to be able to get to them. But I know that springtime is a big time where people are trying to do some cleanups and take care of their property. So just give us a little time and be a little bit patient with us, and we'll make sure we get to those areas. I think the only exciting development that I know some people are tracking too is updates regarding Memorial Park and that development, and I'm sure we'll probably discuss some of that too, or I will make sure we discuss that tonight and provide you all with the update there too. So thanks again for coming out tonight. I just came running from a parent meeting at Hammond Central for our football team. So excited to be here. There's a lot of good stuff going on in our district. Books, Brushes, and Bands was also having a concert at Hammond Central tonight too. So there's a lot of really good things happening in our city and especially in our 3rd District. So really excited for you all to be here and to dive into this conversation. So thanks again for coming.
Thanks, Councilman. Before we get started, I wanted to introduce Councilwoman Janet Vanez. Janet has something that she wants to, she's in here, right? Hi, Councilwoman. Let's go ahead. Eileen, yeah, thank you. Councilwoman Vanez normally stays for the whole mayor's night, but she's unfortunately has to go to a funeral today. And she asked if she could put a public service announcement out at the beginning of mayor's night, and I agreed to let her do so. So, hi, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mayor. As in years past, we have done the free security light program. And I think that program had kind of run its course. Last year we didn't have so many requests for it. So we decided to pivot and this year offer the Ring doorbell. So thanks to the generosity of Mayor McDermott, we will be able to offer 100 Ring doorbells to those residents who fill out an application. You must own and reside in your Hammond home. You must provide proof of home ownership, provide a valid driver's license or state ID. Applications will be taken in person only, June 24th through June 28th on the 3rd floor of City Hall in room 313. So thank you to Mayor for allowing us and giving us the funding for doing this. I think it's really going to help our neighborhoods be safer because after all, we are the eyes and ears of our Hammond Police Department, and this will really help us. So thank you. The flyer is on the table. If anybody has any questions, my card is out there. Please feel free to give me a call, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions for you.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
All right, now I see why we wanted to get that out before Mayor's Night started. So Welcome again to the Hammond Sportsplex. This is Hammond's third district. We're doing them in order this year, so we've already done the first and the second district. I want to thank Kimberly Roberts, who is the director of the Sportsplex. I'm not sure what her exact title is, but I want to thank her for making the building ready. Let's give it up for Hammond Sportsplex. Thank you, everybody. Also, Jim Talon, thank you, Jim, the director of the park department. So while we're at it, we're going to introduce the department heads, and then we're going to go into a presentation from Mr. Lambert, Matt Lambert from the Hammond YMCA. He's from the YMCA, and he's going to show us details in a few minutes about the YMCA that's opening up right next door. So we have that to look forward to. But before we get started, I wanted to congratulate my chief of staff, Phil Talon. I'm not sure how many people in here are aware, but Phil's been my chief of staff for, I'm going to get this right before he leaves, 6 or 7 years? It seems longer, I'll be honest, but he's been working for the city of Hammond over a decade. He's been the chief of staff for 6 years, and he recently took a position as the as the CEO of the South Shore Convention and Visitors Authority. So congratulations, Phil. We're looking forward to working with you, as you know, during your tenure as CEO, and we appreciate the fact that Phil's a lifelong Hammond resident, is going to be in charge of this, you know, as the CEO of the Convention and Visitors Authority. I can only imagine great things for our city in the future. So congratulations, Phil. I'm going to miss you in City Hall, but I'm looking forward to working with you as CEO. So congrats. This is Phil's last mayor's night. I know he's getting a little nostalgic and teary-eyed, but I'm sure you'll make it through. So anyway, let's go ahead and introduce our department heads. And then after that, I want to remind everybody in the audience, this is driven by questions, written questions. We have who's taking the questions today? Hi, Christy, how's it going? Christy's in the back, she's taking your written questions. Please fill out the sheet. We ask that you put your name and address on there only because we want to respond to you. If you want to leave it anonymous, that's fine, okay? But for us to be able to follow it up, if we can't get everything clarified here, we would need your name and address. I have a staff member that's specifically assigned to following all of these up with you. So if you put your name and address down, you will get our constituent service rep who reaching out to you, Alex, who's right over here. Hey, Alex.
Hi, Mayor. How are you?
Good. Constituent services. That's what we decided upon, right?
Yes.
Good. I'm having trouble with this title also. I have trouble with titles, but she's excellent in her position. Alex was trained by Disney, actually. She's a Hammond resident as well. She's in charge of complex problems. Sometimes you call us and you have problems that are very complex, and you can't just knock them off like that. So when we have those, we go to constituent services. Alex, and I was happy to learn that Marion County, actually the city of Indianapolis, also has a constituent services office. We thought we were being creative, and in fact, we're just following in line with other cities. So congratulations to Alex on your new position.
Thank you.
And like I said, if you leave your name and address, she'll be following up to try to take care of your problems. So anyway, if you have a written question, turn it into Christy in the back, and it'll keep us alive. Once we run out of questions, we go home. That's our deal. So, all right, let's go ahead and introduce our department heads. Oh, I guess we're starting over here.
Renee Ortega, Legal Aid.
Jim Talon, Park Department.
Megan Moore, City Controller.
Andy Short, Hammond Police.
Bernie Grizzlia, Hammond Fire Department.
Juan Moreno, Economic Development.
Whoa, Smitty's in the audience.
Brian Poland, City Planning.
Deborah Malone, Environmental.
Tiffany Shelton, IT Department.
Andrea Lewis, United Neighborhoods, Inc.
Oana Miller, Community Development.
Scott Miller, School City Hammond.
Not anymore, buddy.
Phil Talon, Chief of Staff.
Kevin Smith, Corporation Counsel.
Ann Taylor, Planning and Development.
Dean Button, Engineering.
Mylan Krasinski, Sanitary District.
Nicole Sullivan, Hammond Port Authority.
Felix Gonzalez, Public Works.
Jack Smith, Sewer Maintenance.
Carmen Paniagua, Housing Authority.
Kelly Kearney, Inspections Department. Jaime Prieto, Water.
Bivale, Building.
All right, there we go. Thank you very much. These are great department heads. They work super hard for us. Many of them have been with the City of Hammond for decades, so thanks for what you do. Now, before we get started, I'll give you a chance to write out some more questions to keep this thing going. I'm sure we got quite a few, but we do like to solicit questions at the beginning. I'd like to introduce from the Hammond YMCA, Mr. Matt Lambert. Matt is he was the gentleman that gave us a tour last week. When I say us, the Hammond City Council and myself were lucky enough to walk through the construction site to see what's going on with a $70 million YMCA that's going up right next door to us. We're super excited about it. And just to see the outside is one thing, but to walk through and see what they're doing, it's spectacular. So I'm super happy that Matt's here. Welcome to Mayor's Night Out. Mr. Matt Lambert, give it up for him, everybody.
Thank you, Mayor. Before I get started, I did want to let everyone know, I have these large renderings here, but when I'm finished presenting, I'm going to take those with me. I do have smaller versions right here on this bleacher, along with my business card, and there's a QR code you can scan, which will take you to the Destination Hammond website for the YMCA. It has all of the renderings, it has the articles that the Times has written up, and it's got some information that I'll share with you tonight. So as the mayor said, this is a $70 million project. Thank you to the city of Hammond for being an awesome partner in this. I'll go through the slides and try and answer as many questions as I can, but I would encourage you to just take my business card. If you guys have any questions, shoot me an email, you can call me, and I'll follow up with you after Mayor's Night Out.
Thank you, Matt.
All right, so this first rendering is the exterior of the facility. You can see just north of this building, we've got the exterior. This is phase one, which our goal is to complete in the end of this year. So our goal is to open this portion of the YMCA in December of this year. Phase two is this outdoor water park area. So the goal for that is to break ground next year in 2025. We'll fill it, we'll test it, we'll make sure it's good, but we won't have it completed to open to the members in 2025. The outdoor water park will open in 2026. However, you'll see in the renderings, we do have quite an extensive indoor water facility, pool, activity pool, all kinds of good stuff. So that's the exterior. I did want to share some statistics. You guys can brag. Hammond is currently the current Hammond on Southeastern. Number of members per square foot is the busiest YMCA in the country. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely, give it up. And that's exactly why we feel that this project is going to be a huge success. We always say we want to go into communities where we're welcome, where the members support us, where the community needs us, and we feel like this project is just that. You guys may be familiar with our Crown Point location, which is similar in size, and I'm happy to report that when that facility opened, the membership skyrocketed, and we actually have had over 90 YMCAs from around the country come and visit that location to see what Crossroads YMCA is doing, right? They want to take that back to their community. And I'm super excited because I know that this is just going to drive that even further. So this image you're going to see, this is the indoor pool. We've got an activity area for the kids, zero entry with some water features. There's what I would say is not really a lazy river, but sort of running through there. That's fun for kids, but also really good for physical therapy and recovery. Underneath this second floor, we've got the lap pool. So that's really excited. I'm really excited for that. I'm a swimmer, so really excited for that. And then you can kind of see through the glass, that's where the outdoor water park is. So there's that image. Second floor is going to be workout space. You guys will see that in another rendering. We have some basketball courts. These are lined for pickleball. Show of hands. We got any pickleball fans? Any pickleball players? We got some over here. Yeah, pickleball is kind of sweeping the nation, so we're going to have dividers in between each court to be able to run multiple programs, right? So we can have a kids basketball game going on while we have a pickleball game, while we have another activity going on. There's a walking track upstairs, and as you notice, there's lots of windows throughout the facility. If you drive around it, you'll see all the windows, lots of natural light. This is a picture of a common area with the free weights and cardio in the background. It's just a nice place for people to take a break, connect, have a cup of coffee, enjoy each other's company. One thing that's really awesome about the YMCA, with your membership, you get 2 hours of childcare every day while you're in the facility working out. So moms, dads, grandparents who have kids that want to go to a class, want to take a program, or just want a break, right? They can come there, they can put their kid in the childcare kid zone, and they can have a cup of coffee with their friend. They can connect with someone. They can work out. They can go on the treadmill. So we really are excited about that space. This, the entryway, and it's, as you can tell, it's very beautiful. You'll see the membership and the check-in desk right here. So front entrance, stairwell go to the second floor, and there are elevators, of course. And this is a picture of the exterior at night. With all the glass, with all the lights, it's going to be lit up like a candle. So we're pretty excited about that. Just a couple brief things. People ask what will become of the current Hammond YMCA. We're going to renovate it. We're going to keep it. We know that there's a demand. We've done extensive studies and research. So that's just going to be Hammond 2.0, right? I mean, seriously, your community and the engagement with the YMCA is amazing. So we're really grateful about that. And then in terms of raising money for this project, the completion of this project requires us to raise additional funds. And so there are opportunities. If you're interested in sponsoring a room or a area, you can do that in memory of someone or family or anything like that. So if you're interested in any of that, again, my business cards are over here. I encourage everyone to grab one on their way out. There's a QR code you can scan, which will have all this information and all these renderings available to the public. And there's also images here with the floor plan over there. So again, Mayor, thank you for your time.
My pleasure, Matt. Thank you. Let's give it up for Matt Lambert.
Thank you, guys.
It's hard to look on a piece of paper and get as excited as we were lucky enough to be able to walk through the building. That's spectacular. Matt, I remember, I don't know if is it okay if I talk about numbers as far as, if I remember correctly, the current Hammond YMCA population is around 18,000? And then after this, I know there's projections that'll explode, more than double. I mean, think about that. And I realize not everybody is part of the Hammond YMCA is a Hammond resident, but they're anticipating to be closer to 40,000 members of the Y in the new location and closer than we are currently at 20. 40,000 is half of our population. That's incredible when you're thinking about it. And I don't know how many people are lucky enough to go to the Y in Crown Point. The Y in Crown Point is the model that they're building this off of. And I asked them, and I hope they follow through on making sure it's just a little bit bigger in Crown Points because we're always in competition with them. But if you've been to the Y in Crown Point, it's destination. It's a destination Y. We have a destination Y next to a destination Sportsplex. So we've done pretty well over here. So thank you again, Matt Lambert and the YMCA.
Mayor, I'm going to lob you one too. This is 150 employees currently at the YMCA. This facility is going to add an additional 300 plus employees. So it's going to move us up the list of employees in Hammond. So we're very excited about that too.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, guys.
You, man. This was a partnership between the YMCA, obviously, the City of Hammond. I want to thank the Hammond Council. The Hammond Council approved the incentive package for this project. It was a unanimous vote for a $10 million package. We used half of our money from ARP, the federal government money, and we used TIF for the other half. So we didn't raise your property taxes doing this. Our all-in was $10 million on a $70 million project. I know the Y raised quite a bit themselves. The rest of it was donated by the Dean and Barbara White Foundation. They're going to be good on this project for about a $50 million donation to the City of Hammond, if not more, which is incredible. So if you ever meet people from the Dean and Barbara White Foundation, if you ever see them walking through our city and town, stop them and say thank you, because it's incredible what they're doing for the region. They did the same thing in Crown Point, and Mr. White lived in Crown Point, so I get it. Mr. White didn't live in Hammond, right? He had a lot of billboards in Hammond, but he didn't live in Hammond, and he gave us $50 million out of his estate. So Could we give it up for the Demon Barbara White Foundation? That's really, thank you. All right. That was good. We had 2 little detours at the beginning. We give you plenty of time to get questions all written up. So anyway, I want to thank the councilman in attendance, and I'd also like to thank the School City of Hammond Superintendent Scott Miller for being here. Thank you very much, Scott. Good to see you. I'd like to go through the councilman in attendance and thank him for being here. Of course, our host councilman, Barry Tyler. Thank you very much, councilman. From the 2nd District, Councilman Al Salinas. Good to see you. From the 4th District, Councilman Bill Emerson. Good to see you. From the 6th District, he's our council president, Scott Rakos. Thank you very much, Councilman. Councilwoman at large, Janet Vanez, left, but she was here a little bit ago. Councilman Dan Spitali. Thank you very much, Dan. And of course, our county councilman, he's Hammond's county councilman, Dave Ham. And my new neighbor. So, former Hammond City Councilman, Bob Markovich. Good to see you in the audience, sir. All right. We're done with all the formalities. It's nice to see everybody. I want to remind you again, this is live on Go Hammond TV. So if you want to watch it again, you could go home and stream it again. It's right there waiting for you. So a lot of people do watch these. So anyway, let's go ahead. How you doing? Who's giving me the questions today?
Right over here.
Hi, Eileen. Oh, I heard your
Mayor.
voice. I didn't see you. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Festival of Lakes taking off.
Yeah, it's been pretty busy. We have some news to share.
Yeah,
very
we
soon.
can't announce the
Not
lineup.
today, sorry.
I know, I'm not going to announce it. But the good news is we're done, right?
Yes.
We got our lineup secured. Took a little longer than normal this year. It's interesting what the Hard Rock and all the concerts they're doing at Hard Rock has done to the market. Because usually we're the big dog in the market booking bands. We're not the big dog in the market booking bands anymore. Hard Rock's booking all of the bands that used to play Hammond. So when a band like Sublime plays at Hard Rock and we want them to play in Hammond 2 months later, they're not going to play here. They already played here. They're going to play at another part of the country. So it's been a lot more competitive this year, but I'm very happy with our lineup. I know we haven't announced Wednesday yet, but it's a good, nice entry into the fest. Thursday, we've already announced a band called Shinedown. Right now, they're the 3rd highest grossing band over the last 10 years at the Festival of Lakes already. Shinedown's big. I didn't realize how big they were, but put it in perspective for an older guy like myself, Sammy Hagar, who was my North Star when I was growing up, these guys are right behind Sammy Hagar in ticket sales. And that's blows my mind a little bit, okay? Number 1 still is Lil Wayne, who's set the standard in Hammond last year. On Friday, we have a rapper named DaBaby, who I know a lot of young people are really excited about. I know a lot of young people in my house are excited about. Saturday, I'm not going to say it, but it's big. It's a big one. It's a good one. It's really different. So I think it's going to blow people's minds a little bit. Sunday, Eileen, you picked this band.
Calibre 50.
I'm telling you, I go to a lot of Mexican restaurants. I get around the city a lot. I hear nothing but excellent things about Sunday night. And I know they're selling tickets, which is awesome, So I know, are you excited about that night?
Very excited.
I know, we've had a lot of big bands on Sunday. I think this might be one of the biggest as far as the chatter I'm hearing. So I love Sunday night at the festival. So we got our lineup secured. We'll be announcing the rest of the bands in the next week or so. So congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Let's go ahead and get started.
Can you run a business out of your home? Do you need permits?
Yes, great question. This is a really good question. Like if it's a permanent business, like if I say 7134 Knickerbocker is no longer the mayor's house, it is now a daycare center. I mean, it happens. We've seen it. I can tell you a couple houses off the top of my head that did this very thing, and then the state starts getting interfered, and then Kevin, I'm going to go right to Kevin. Brian Poland, grab a microphone. I have a feeling I'm coming your way as well. So let's start off with Kevin. Kevin, there is houses that are straight up businesses, and it makes you scratch your head. One across the street from Purdue, and it's been there for 20, 30 years. So at this point, it's been there for so long, it's almost like embedded in the neighborhood. But when that first turned into a business, should the city have done something back then?
So I am going to punt in a second to Brian. You're right, Mayor, because a lot of it has to do with zoning.
Mm-hmm.
You are allowed to have a business in your home, but it has to be properly regulated either through the state And you mentioned daycares, because that's
It
one
seems
you
like that's
see.
the big one.
That's a state-regulated activity, although I would say if Nick or Kelly are here, they also have inspections.
Kelly's here.
Responsibility for the home businesses. So
We see this pop up, especially
do.
daycare. I guess when you think about lawn care and stuff like that, that pops up also. But that's more like a seasonal type of thing, and unless
Yeah.
they're parking their stuff in the neighborhood.
That's
usually-
correct, Mayor. And there's also regulations about what you can park on the street. So the best answer I can give you is it is allowed under certain circumstances, but a lot of it falls on zoning. And that's why, if it's okay, Mayor, you'll kick it over to Brian. And also, if they are regulated or enforced through inspections to make sure that they're complying with the city ordinance.
You know what this sounds like?
Yes.
A job for Constituent Services.
Could be.
Yeah, where's Alex? No, just kidding.
I got it.
Yeah.
I'll take the complaint after this.
Brian, seems like daycare centers are the big one. I guess lawn services pop up also, but you don't really see. Is there another one? Haircutting. Okay.
Yeah, their daycares and home occupations are actually treated separately. Yeah, under the home occupation section of the zoning ordinance, again, there are certain things that you're allowed to have a business in your home, but it is based on making sure that you're not having a lot of traffic, that there's either it's the homeowner as the employee or maybe a family member or one other person. The whole premise of it is to make sure that your business is not being disruptive. You can't have outdoor storage of product, and you can't like do retail out of your home. So it really comes down to, if you do want to do home occupation, please come talk to the city planning department. We'll help you through all the regulations for that.
Like if it's a business where there's not a lot of customers coming to it, that's
Yeah, that's basically it. You think about tax preparers,
Right.
lawyers,
Right.
Piano teachers.
right.
Those
True.
types
Yeah,
of
gotcha.
Yeah, those types of things are home occupation. When it comes to daycare centers and daycare homes, that's actually governed under a separate part of the state statute, and our zoning ordinance matches that. A daycare home, it is restricts the number of children that can be there. It also is intended under the statute that the person lives there. There's like daycare home 1, daycare home 2, and that's really based on the number of children. If you're not living there, that's a daycare center, and then that triggers different zoning districts and how we apply
So
that.
basically, if I wanted to turn my home into a daycare center, I would have to come to the city, right? The state would also be involved in a daycare center. If I wanted to turn my home into a law firm, right? And it's going to have customers and stuff like that. So I have to come to the city also.
Yeah, right. That's a home occupation, yes.
Okay. How about I want to turn my home into a seasonal, like, we do lawns, we do sidewalks in the winter, driveways. I got a bunch of tractors,
And that gets into the kind of like the devil in the details of it, because we do have a lot of lawn care services that are operating out of their home. What we're going to be looking for is making sure their equipment is kept in a garage or storage building
on their property.
It's also going to trigger the regulations of the size of vehicle, and those are the things that when you come to us, we're going to ask all those questions.
Another thing
understand what you are.
lately that we've been talking about, Brian, is the people parking cabs of semis. They drop the load someplace, and they'll park this cab in front of their house. But it's a semi-cab parked in a neighborhood next to cars. We've been running into this one lately also. Kelly, you got anything you want to add on that?
It is something that's popping up frequently. It's not always easy to find. Sometimes they're in spots that are hard to see. As far as the daycare centers and those inspections, it'd be under business inspection, along with the fire department, check for fire safety. If we have any of those complaints, anybody has that situation near them, we'd love to know about it, because they don't always register, and it's something that we'd like to follow up on.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the audience. I'm not sure. Hopefully our dry answer covered this. If not, we could. Anybody follow up on this? All right, it's no problem. Let's move on. So it happens, it's complicated. All right, if you want to open something that's going to impact, I'm trying to summarize what we just heard. If you want to open a business that's going to impact the neighborhood, you're probably going to have to deal with us, and we may say no. If you want to open like something like a law firm, and it's like if Kevin wants to practice law out of his house and it's not going to impact the neighborhood, you can probably do that, right? Or, stuff like that. But if it's storage of things, semi out in front, then you're going to run into problems with us. I think that's the summary to our answers. All right, let's move on.
When will the South Shore train line start running on 173rd?
North-south past 173rd, right, on the new line, on the West Lake expansion. Good question. First off, let's talk about the whole system now. They just opened the double track yesterday. Double track is between Gary and Michigan City. It was a big deal. It was close to $1 billion. Okay, it's ridiculous when you think about a rail line that's been operating for over 100 years is operating on one track. That was a head scratcher, but they got it fixed. It's good for development of Michigan City, South Bend. It gets them to Chicago quicker. Everybody's real happy out there. Michigan City's blowing up right now with economic development. I think a lot of that has to do with this double track. Okay, so now let's talk about our project. Our project's not as close, but I know South Shore recently, Phil or Ann, they were saying that they were going to be using the new station soon. That doesn't mean they're going to be going north and south, though. It means the trains are going to be going through the new station, and they're using that, from what I was told.
Agreed, yeah. They're saying they actually have a day, May 14th, 2025.
May 14th, 2025, they start using the new station. But they're not going north and south on the new line yet, because it's not ready.
They are going north and south.
On when?
Yeah, they'll start revenue service on May 14th of 2025.
I'm sorry. I was in another place in my head. May of 2025.
Correct.
North-south.
Yes, sir.
That's outstanding. Which means on May of 2025, we could actually start our project of the downtown Hammond train station.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. My brain wasn't working. All right, let's follow up with questions from the audience. South Shore, topic du jour. Michigan City's development that's happening there. We are getting a lot of interest along the South Shore line that I've been mayor for 20 years. I'm getting questions and developers I've never met before, and they're looking at places they've never talked about developing before. I think it's related to the South Shore. Personally, that's my opinion. There's other people that don't agree with me, but I've been mayor a long time. We had Bank Calumet available for a long time, and now we have a developer from Michigan City that's putting $25 million into it. That didn't happen before the South Shore line. I think that downtown Hammond 10 years from now is going to look a lot different, a lot better. I definitely know along Gosselin around the Gateway Station, 10 years from now, it'll amaze you. Take a picture right now. Come back in 10 years. It's going to look a lot better, a lot different, a lot bigger. Second district councilman sitting here, your district will increase in population a lot. It'll be the next census, 2030, you'll start to see the impact. 2040, when you're still councilman or mayor or whatever you are by then, 2040, it'll be noticeably different, the second district population, because that's where the impact of this. Downtown, Gosselin, right over there at the edge of the first and second district. So I think second district is, by the way, we're in the third district right now. We did $20 million development here in pre-pandemic money. Pre-pandemic money, I don't know what this building would cost to build nowadays. It costs us around $18 million. If we built this now, I bet you it's closer to 40, okay? We're doing $70 million over there at the YMCA. We did $100 million across the street at Hudamaki. I think we're doing all right over here. Our city's doing well, guys. I'm not saying we don't have our challenges. We certainly have our challenges, but we're doing it in economic development. Our police are doing a great job. Our fire is doing a great job. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. I heard one person clap. All right. So anyway, I don't even remember what question we were asking. South Shore. Anybody have a follow-up on South Shore? Good, let's move on.
A question regarding a Section 8 home. Can residents get signatures so that the owner of the Section 8 home can put stricter regulations on the people there?
Okay. Hey, Carmen. This is Carmen Paniagua. She's in charge of Hammond Housing Authority. And I've learned a couple things in my time. First off, Carmen's spectacular at her job. Okay, she does a great job running the Hammond Housing Authority. And when I hear a question like this, all due respect to the person that wrote it, in my head, a lot of times people think there's a house at Section 8, and it's not Section 8. They're like, that house is definitely Section 8, because in my mind, a Section 8 house is, looks like crap, and that house is Section 8 for sure. And then we do a little bit of research, and oftentimes we find that house is not Section 8. It's too crummy to be Section 8. To be Section 8, you have to meet minimum standards, and you have to get inspected. And if you meet those minimum standards, you make a deal with the federal government where they pay you money, rent money for the person that lives there, okay? So before we even get into this question may be legitimate. This may be a Section 8 house, but oftentimes when I hear this, it's not a Section 8 house. It's actually a house that's not good enough to be a Section 8 house. So Carmen, I'm not sure, I know you get this a lot as well, right?
Yes, we do. And that exactly what you said is what happens in most of the cases. A lot of the times, yes, the house may not look like to be in the best condition, but our units do have to be inspected and pass the inspection. So we have to be under the federal guidelines of the housing quality standards, HQS inspection for the inside and the outside of the unit.
I want to interrupt you, and I'm going to give it back, okay? The interesting thing about that, Carmen, is let's say I went out and bought a house in Hammond, and I didn't want to go Section 8, and I didn't want to put anything into it. I just bought it for like 80 grand, and I'm just renting this thing out. I'll get whatever I can get, right? And I don't put a penny into this house, and it's really substandard, and it's probably something. The funny thing is, if I applied for Section 8, I would have to invest a bunch of money into that house because you would be inspecting it. If I decided not to go that route, which a lot of landlords do, I could rent a piece of crap, and you can't do anything about it. I don't have to get inspected because I'm not Section 8. So really, oftentimes, and this was a mistake I made before I became your mayor also, a lot of times I thought that house is definitely Section 8. No, that house is a piece of crap. There's no way that house could be Section 8, all right? Section 8 houses get inspected. To be a Section 8 landlord, you have to invest money into your house. Now, so I'm not saying this question's wrong. I am not. This question may be dead right. This may be a Section 8 house. So without getting into specifics, let's say I'm a Section 8 landlord, okay? And my house is deficient. How does that go down, Carmen? Like if I'm renting a house that's Section 8, but I'm not passing, inspections.
So then what happens is we start holding the payment until the landlord decides to bring the property up to compliance. So if there's any deficiencies that need to be done under the HQS, which is the housing quality standards, then no payment would be made onto that landlord until everything has been cured.
Does that happen
Yes.
often, or?
It doesn't happen very often because they usually know. So if it fails the inspection, we give them about 7 days, 5 to 7 days to correct the deficiency. If they correct it, that's fine. Sometimes they don't want to agree to correct it, so then the family would have to move.
So now, if I'm a landlord and I'm getting rent guaranteed from the federal government, I could imagine if, Carmen, I know you're aggressive. I know if I'm renting a substandard house, Section 8, I know you're going to give me the letter, and you're going to be like, listen, landlord, you got to fix your stuff, or else I'm going to pull you off this program, right?
Correct.
And I imagine they respond to that. Oftentimes, they don't blow you off very often.
No, they usually correct the problem. Like I said, we do have it. It happens. People don't want to invest the money, and it does happen in substandard units. But at that point, then the family would have to move, and that landlord is basically taken off the program. So
Okay.
if they wanted to enlist another unit in the program, they would have to pass like on the first chance.
Okay, so I'm not sure we should talk about a specific address at Mayor's Night, but I think it was a pretty good discussion we had. So if this house is Section 8 and it's substandard,
We definitely go out there and inspect it. But if not, I will hand it over to Code Enforcement, Inspections Department, and they can probably do something with it. But
Okay.
we'll definitely take a look into it.
Okay, so this complaint is going to either go to Carmen, but it's going to go to both. First off, it's going to go to Carmen. If Carmen says, sorry, it's not mine, she passes the ball to Kelly. Kelly, want to grab the microphone? How often does this happen with you? You're getting to, so Carmen's like, Kelly, this house isn't good enough to be on Section 8. Good luck.
We would inspect it immediately as soon as possible.
Make it uninhabitable if it's really that bad?
If electric situations or such are there, absolutely.
Okay.
We don't always know if they're Section 8 or not. We don't have a list of running houses that are Section 8, but usually come upon inspection.
Okay, so in this case, did I answer the question without getting into an address? Because somebody lives there, and I don't want them to be blasted on Mayor's Night Out, right? So we'll forward this complaint, give a copy to Constituent Services, obviously, but we'll give a copy to Kel in inspections, Nick Farrell, and we'll give one to Carmen, and we'll figure out whose problem it is, okay? Now, for the person in the audience that wrote that question, if you don't want to reveal yourself, but hopefully that takes care of the situation. If it doesn't, please raise your hand, and cool. Thank you. All right.
What is the procedure to have a yard sale?
Okay. We did an ordinance on this a couple years ago, and if I remember correctly, off the top of my head, it's you could have one for free without informing people. I think you could have a couple without informing people, but what we were trying to discourage is your next door neighbor that has a yard sale every day, okay? That's a business, and sometimes you don't want to live next door to a business. So what we were trying to do is discourage people that have continuous yard sales, okay? I've never really followed up and said, hey, Councilman Salinas, this is your third yard sale this year. I've never done that. I don't think we've ever done that, okay? But I think technically the ordinance says something like that. Kevin, is that true?
Yard sale procedures, Mayor, are set by ordinance, and you can only have so many per year. And by the way, one of the things
we were just talking about that,
yeah, that we monitor is there are some problem properties in the city.
Right.
And
They're
like, for
having the
example,
repeats.
yeah.
Do you remember what the number is?
Per year?
Yeah, like if I want to have a couple, is that
Two.
Two. You could have two with no problems.
Yes.
If you have three, technically you're in violation of the ordinance.
Yeah, and there's also like, for example, some people will.
So if you do like Memorial Day weekend, you gotta what? Get permission from the Board of Public Works and Safety?
You do.
Okay.
Every week there's an agenda item of garage sales and yard sales. And I'll tell you what has come up recently that has been an issue. We check to see if you're the owner of the home. Some people will apply and they're not owners of the home.
Interesting.
And they're not renters of the home.
Gotcha.
Okay, that's number one. Two, they will attempt to put a sale that's almost looks like it's a store.
Right.
Okay, and I know if Jack Smith's here, he knows because he's usually the one to call me and say, do they have a permit that weekend? So we're also very careful about that. And the Board of Works knows kind of what areas.
But like, okay, let's say though, if Phil has a garage sale and he has three, like really, we're not like, do you think every garage sale is calling the Board of Public Works and Safety?
Probably not, but if I can tell you this, because Rob Bunner's here, I know that if people call, he checks out and makes sure they have a permit. So you should apply.
All right, I want to hear Rob say this.
All right.
All right. Captain of Patrol, Rob Bunner. How you doing, Rob? Right now he's like, what are we talking about? I know. Please update me real quick. The mayor's calling on me. All right. Hey, Rob, how's it going?
Good, Mayor. How are you?
Good. Talking about yard sales. I was wondering, as the Captain of Patrol, how often are your officers called to problem yard sales? Like somebody having a yard sale over and over and over and over again?
Quite a bit, actually.
Really?
Yes.
That's surprising to me.
Yep. It's more of a nuisance issue.
Right.
And for instance, over the weekend with Mother's Day weekend coming up, we had a few yard sales, but we also had the transient vendors pop
Yes,
up.
sir. Of course,
we
that
wrote 9 citations and we issued 8 verbal warnings.
So, wow, I'm surprised. I really am. So yard sales this time of year, obviously, you're out there and you're literally, are you following and saying, hey, you guys had a couple yard sales already?
Correct.
Wow, okay. So
we try to stay on top of it.
Technically, it's 2, right?
Yeah, it is, Mayor. And you can imagine.
Thanks, Rob.
If your neighbor has a garage sale every weekend,
Yeah,
it'd be
I
pretty
agree.
annoying.
No, I agree. That's
Yeah.
why we passed the ordinance.
Yep.
But the funny thing about ordinances, ladies and gentlemen, is this, okay? So this is one I'm going to throw out there. You know, if I grill chicken in my backyard, technically I'm violating city ordinance, right? Unless, of course, I keep all the smoke from my chicken on my property. If it wafts into anybody else's property, I'm violating city ordinance. So do people not cook their chicken in Hammond? No, of course not. Everybody does. So what prevents them from having the Hammond police show up? It's us. If I call and say my neighbor and all their smoke is coming into my yard, they're violating city ordinance. And if an officer shows up, they got to enforce city ordinance. And city ordinance says keep your smoke on your property. Keep your noise on your property. If you're playing music and it's going into my property, you're violating city ordinance. You know, we have big loud parties sometimes and everybody's playing music. That is a violation of city ordinance. So I guess what I'm trying to say when it comes to garage sales is city ordinance says you can have 2 for free. If you have more than that, you're violating city ordinance. So if your neighbors aren't calling in your yard sale, if you're being a good neighbor, I imagine you could probably get away with 3. But, you know, Councilman, how's it going?
Yeah, good. Mayor, you just, in speaking about ordinances, you spoke about the noise ordinance. Sure. And I've been getting several complaints about the noise ordinance, sometimes connected to music.
Yeah.
But I just got a call about table saws. I guess people are doing not construction, but they're using saws out of their garage, and it's bothering
Violation
their
of city
neighbors.
ordinance.
Is it? So my question is,
Good.
I know we have.
I know where you're going with this.
Is it just between a certain number of hours, right?
That's a good question, Barry. So like this. How about this? I wake up early. I'm that age now where I'm up at like 5:30, right? What if I got an urge? I'm gonna mow the lawn, right? I'm 5:30, bam, right? It's a violation of a lot of moral codes. What are you doing? It's 5:30 a.m. Is that a violation of city ordinance, Kevin?
Yes.
Why is that?
It's noise. 7 a.m.
Oh, so I can get out there at 7 a.m. and mow the lawn. So you're not violating city ordinance, but you're not a good neighbor. 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.? Okay, there you go, Councilman. 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Okay, so now we have situations where I want to have a big party. My kid's graduating. I got a band. They're coming over at 10 p.m. I talked to my neighbors, they're cool, right? But you didn't talk to all the neighbors, and not all of them are cool. And you got a band playing at 10:30 at night, and it's like concert level. Rob, microphone again. I love this. Captain Patrol. This is a common problem for you all, right?
Noise?
Yeah, I got the big band. It's 10 p.m. There's 75 people jamming out, right?
Absolutely. And we're ramping up towards the summertime, so yeah, it's going to get even worse.
That's a major problem for you guys, right?
Yes.
You have to shut it down, right?
Absolutely.
Even if you talk to the neighbors, because technically, if somebody's complaining, you didn't talk to all the neighbors.
Correct.
So basically, one neighbor could shut down a party after 7 p.m.
Absolutely.
if they complain.
Even if a patrol officer's driving by and they hear it, they can shut the party down.
So then everybody gets mad at you guys, of course, right?
Yep.
But it's really one neighbor that can shut everything down. And you guys
Absolutely.
have to enforce ordinance.
Yep, our hands are tied.
That's common.
Pretty common, yep.
These are good discussions, because this stuff happens all the time, guys. So thank you, Rob. Appreciate
welcome.
it. All right. Any follow-ups on that? Hi. We got a microphone holding. Mike, I could hear you, but it's for the TV.
Okay.
It's for Go Hammond TV.
Okay. So, speaking of the noise ordinance, we've actually had the police called on us once.
I'm sorry.
It was about 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and we had the radio on in the garage because my husband was working in the garage.
I do that.
And we had a
play
neighbor
loud
who
music.
actually called on us. And when they came, they did tell us that we can't have it past the perimeter of our property.
This is the most questions the captain of patrol has ever been asked, and I've been doing Mayor's Night for 20 years. This is by far the most the captain of patrol has ever spoke at Mayor's Night.
I'm glad I decided to show up tonight, Mayor.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. So that's a great question. So I put
They
it
were very polite to us, the officers, I have to
Thank you.
say. So.
Okay, so this is what I do. I swim in my pool, and I crank the music so I can hear it in the pool. It's noon, right? But it's definitely going outside the perimeter of the house.
Technically, by letter of the law, yes. It has to be in the perimeter of your property.
So one crummy neighbor could shut down.
All the time.
I know. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But we try, that's a normal time of the day to have a party or to be enjoying music in your garage. So we try to say, hey, turn it down just a little bit. You don't have to turn it all the way off, but our officers usually try to work with,
Good.
They were very cooperative, but it was just I wanted to make sure because, like I said, it's noon and it wasn't really that loud. They had to drive up to
I'm
the
sorry about
garage
that.
to hear it. It was just my neighbor was like,
I'm sorry.
I don't like it, so
That sucks.
called the police on us.
That sucks. I'm sorry.
Should I just keep this?
Yeah, right. That's right.
Thank you.
Chief's getting jealous, though. I could tell. Yeah, sure. Kevin, corporate counsel.
I wanted to clarify something about garage sales. So you can have one per year up to 2 consecutive days. You could have Friday and Saturday, and you can ask the Board of Works to have another one, and they usually will allow you to have 2. So I just wanted to be clear, because in my mind I was thinking 2. It's really one
Barry,
with
isn't there one close to City Hall that's regular? I always think when I'm leaving City Hall, I see one that's it's right on the corner there, right by Philistine. There's one fairly regular over in that area. The thing is, if I was doing a count where I was keeping track every time I drove by, I guarantee you they're violating ordinance, but they're still in operation. Why? Because the neighbors don't call them in.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
if the neighbors don't call them in, Captain of Patrol doesn't show up, Captain of Patrol doesn't show up, everything's good, right? Nobody wants Captain of Patrol showing up, believe me. So, yeah, that was the one. I remember. It's clothes and stuff like that.
Yes, and the question is too, if because this is what we see a lot, is that they just leave the items in the yard for weeks at a time.
Unacceptable. That's where I'm coming from. Kelly, you get that one a lot?
Not anymore, since the ordinance
you
came
would-
out.
Okay, Barry, let's change this, okay? I'm having a big yard sale Friday to Saturday. I'm doing it legally. I'm following city ordinance. I have no intention on doing it on Sunday. I have a lot of stuff in the yard, okay? I don't move it in Friday because I plan to do it Saturday. I think that's more acceptable, in my opinion. But if I have a yard sale every weekend on Friday and Saturday, and every weekend I leave my stuff out there, I think that's more repulsive.
We would probably cite for that.
Because they're violating city ordinance on that, and it's like, come on, man, you're leaving
Yeah.
your stuff out.
Even a warning to, remove the articles, put them away in the garage, basement, or whatever.
Gotcha.
We'd be on it.
But I think what's important here too is that we have to hold each other accountable, right? So I think if your neighbors are doing this, then you have to report it. Not you have to, but you should, because it helps our city officials be conscious of what's going on, because they can't be everywhere every single day and taking care of all of those situations at the same time. So you can call, make an anonymous tip. My contact information is out there. You can text me the information, and I'll make sure to report it too. But I think there's plenty of outlets for you all to pursue to make sure that your neighbors are abiding by the same rules and regulations that you are as well.
Speaking of anonymous tip, this is a great opportunity to preview our Hammond 311 system with the IT department. And on behalf of the IT department here, we have Tiffany Shelton. Nice to see you, Tiffany. Could you talk a little bit about when you put a tip in? Like if I wanted to put a tip in about neighbors ever being loud or crime tips or anything like that, how that system works. I know you guys monitor all that.
People usually send a message through the 311 app. Depending on what category, it goes to the correct department, and the department handles the situation. Most of the time, we get a lot of large item tickets. That's like the big thing.
Right.
So that goes to Public Works.
But you could do anonymous tips on that also,
yes,
right?
you can do anonymous tips.
I know even crime tips go to the police department through there as well. So,
yes.
Well, I appreciate it. It's nice to see you. Thanks for coming to Mayor's Night, Tiff.
Thank you.
But yeah, so Hammond 311 is a great system. In fact, Public Works-wise, Felix, could you grab a microphone? I think I'm getting more people involved in Mayor's Night today than in the history of Mayor's Night, by the way. Felix, when I put in a large item pickup, I have a couple options as a citizen. I could call it in the old-fashioned way. I could call the mayor's office and say, Mayor, could you have somebody come over and pick up a large pickup item? Happens all the time. I don't think that's as efficient. Or I could do it on Hammond 311, right?
Yes.
Which way is the fastest way?
311 for sure.
Let me tell you, though, how many people call the mayor's office for stuff like that? Which is fine, because in a lot of people's mind, the mayor does everything, okay? And that's fine. But what happens is you call my office, we take a message, we send it to Felix's office, through inter-office mail. Felix gets it the next day, and then he probably already assigned his people that day, so maybe on the third day, we pick up your item, right? So if you call Felix's office, you probably get it 2 days later. If you do it on 311, how fast do you get it done?
It's priority. So
it's like
next
top of the
day, sometimes middle of the day if they come in and our guys are caught up.
So download Hammond 311, you go front of the line privileges, okay? You can still call the mayor's office, you can still call Felix's office, but that's a way to do it as well, okay? All right, thank you. Let's keep going. Can you tell I had Starbucks coffee right before I started Mayor's Night?
A resident has some concerns and questions about handicap parking on a block. She does have some pictures that she can provide regarding her concerns. She'd just like to make sure that they're being used correctly.
This is a perfect opportunity for constituent services, and I'm not being silly about that. This is like, because it takes some coordination between different departments and the Board of Public Works and things like that. So I would get hit with a question like this, and I'm like, oh, there's so many things that have to be done on this, and I have so little time. That's why we created this position. This is one that needs to go right to Alex so that she can work with Board of Public Works, she can work with Public Works and try to figure out how to take care of this problem.
The resident did not provide the photos, so if the resident is still in the audience, if they can please provide them to Alex or exchange contact so that we can get those.
I have my cards, so if you want it, I can give it to you.
So just come up and see Alex. If you're right, is that you? Hi, ma'am. Thanks. We'll take care of it. We don't have to do it on camera, but Alex will help you. And perfect. Okay, let's move on.
A resident has a concern regarding 28 Ruth Street. A house is falling apart. The city went out a while ago, but nothing has been done. 28 Ruth Street.
Mayor, I'm happy to address that. So that's the apartment building just off of State Line. It has been an ongoing issue, and what has happened is there is an actual demolition order on that property. However, it was appealed to the Lake Superior Court by the then owner, who then transferred it to a corporation that just got incorporated like 2 days earlier in Wyoming. Then they transferred to that entity, and then that entity appealed, and we're fighting that. It's actually in court on May 22nd in Judge Parent's court. So I can also tell you that Kelly Kearney's department, the inspections department, has been very, very busy getting it ready to be demolished. We hope that the court will dismiss the suit, the appeal, and allow the demolition to proceed. There's been a little bit of a holdup because it's such an old building. State Historic Preservation Commission has to be consulted. We have a consultant that is working on that, as well as on the environmental conditions of the building. So
Thanks,
it's moving.
So the plan is to demolish that building?
That's the current plan.
It's a big one. I know it's an eyesore. That's the one the roof is falling in on, Kel?
Correct.
Gotcha. Do you have anything to add on that?
It's probably been one of the most frustrating demolitions I've ever had to go through, and it's probably near 1,000 now.
I know it's super expensive, too.
Yeah, we had to do some emergency efforts to basically put up a wall between the neighbor's house and the portion that was collapsed into the basement, basically. I think it'll be a quick demolition when it does happen. Shallow basement, it's a pretty decent work area, so it'll go fast once we start. It's just a matter of getting a green light.
Is there any way we could put a timeline on that, Kev, or like safe?
So
by the end of the summer?
Yeah, I would think so, provided that the court agrees with us that the appeal should be dismissed.
Okay.
Yep.
But you think you should see some action on that?
Yeah, the status hearing is May 22nd. I have a motion to dismiss that's going to be filed. I imagine that's going to be heard probably sometime in June or July at the latest, and then hopefully with a ruling we can move forward.
Okay, thanks. Any follow-ups on that? All right, thanks. I'd like to thank Representative Carolyn Jackson for being here. Good to see you, Representative.
Next question. Should neighbors leave trash and recycle cans on sidewalks? They never remove them from the front of the street, with large items also.
Oh, yeah, we were just talking about this in Public Works last week. No, they should not. You're supposed to move it back and forth. I don't know, anybody have anything to add on this?
Great opportunity for 311.
Yeah.
Take a picture, send it in. They can always call the office. Usually we can handle this just by approaching the owners, be tenants or homeowner, or tag the can and have them, let them know that they need to pull them back.
Yeah, you're supposed to move it back and forth. Be a good neighbor. So, thank
Contact.
you. All right.
Is the railroad overpass still being built on 173rd and Parish?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. That's a project we call Governor's Parkway. That's a project that's being led by the state of Indiana. It's basically, if you know where Paris's Barbershop is off 173rd, it's just to the east of Paris's Barbershop. You'll head north, and it'll take you through a wooded area, up over the rail line, and then it'll drop you back down on the other side of the tracks, right around 171st Street, where you'll have an option to turn west and go over to Parish, or turn east and go over to Grand. It's a great project, in my mind, because it solves the train problem in Hessville. It's a problem that's been vexing Hammond for a century, and this will solve it. It's not without its problems, though. In order for us to get up and get down, where we land is going to impact a patch of trees. And I acknowledge it will impact that area. It's going to result in 100, 200 trees being cut down. All right? And we've been transparent about that. I've done 2 surveys with the residents in Hessville, asked them 2 times how they felt about that project. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's 100% are on our side, but it's 2/3, 1/3. So there's 1/3 of the people out there that feel strongly that we're making a mistake. But 2/3 of the people that have responded to this survey consistently feel we're doing the right thing. I feel we're doing the right thing as mayor I've talked to the Councilman Rakos, who also strongly supports this project. I campaigned on this project, and so did Councilman Rakos. And Councilman Rakos' opponent was on the other side. It was literally what they were talking about in the election. And Councilman Rakos won easily on that race. So every opportunity we've had to go to the public to talk about this, to acknowledge it will impact trees, we've been transparent, and we've always been given the thumbs up. And I acknowledge there's people out there that don't like it. But yes, we're doing this project. It's mostly being paid for by the state of Indiana. The city of Hammond has money into it. And when it's done, if there's a perpetually stopped train in Hessville, you'll be able to take this and get up over it. More importantly, if there's a perpetually stopped train in Hessville and you're south of the tracks where a lot of our residents live, and you know the ambulance in Station 8 needs to get to you, they can get you over that bridge within a couple minutes instead of taking 8094 and Klein Avenue. Response times will be better, traffic will be better, quality of life will be better. I think it's the right thing. So, yes, sir. Can we get a microphone over here? Hi. Could you wait for 2 seconds, sir? Thank you. It's not for me. I can hear what you said, but the audience.
When is the work supposed to start on it?
Thank you, sir.
This year?
Dean, could you grab a microphone? This is City Engineer Dean Button. He's coordinating on behalf of us.
Yeah, we're still don't have full approval from Federal Highway yet. We got state approval for the environmental document. So it's probably going to push into 26 now when they'll start construction because the NEPA document's taking so long to get approved.
And it's at least a year project, right?
Oh, yeah,
Once
it's
it starts.
one construction season
so you think
at least.
It should be done in 2027?
Yeah.
Okay, but do you have any fear that this isn't going to happen?
No fear at all, Mayor. It will move forward. It will be completed.
I agree with you. Yep. I mean, everything I've heard, and I realize that there are critics out there. I acknowledge there's critics out there. But if I stopped progress in Hammond every time there was a critic, we would never get anything done. We have 80,000 people that live here. If you can get 2/3 of the people behind something you're doing something right. Do it. You can't get, in 2024 in America, you can't get 100% of the people on board anything anymore. We had 2/3 of the way. I respectfully listen to the critics on that. I'm trying to be as nice as possible to them, but I think this is a good project for Hessville. That's why I'm doing it. So thank you for the question, sir. Hi, ma'am.
And will the railroad company still fund a walking bridge for the kids?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking. Now, that's a whole separate project, but it's related because it's the same line. So Governor's Parkway is the one we just talked about. Now, the other project came about after a ProPublica article published pictures of Hammond kids going through the trains right over there, right off of Grand to get to Scott Middle School, okay? Now, President Biden read that article. I know for a fact, I talked to Pete Buttigieg, Secretary of Transportation, read that article. That article got nationwide coverage. We made contact with CSX. I talked to the what's that?
And Norfolk Southern.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Norfolk Southern. I talked to the CEO myself of Norfolk Southern and got him to agree to build a bridge, a walking bridge, at their cost. It's morphed since then, but Hammond has no money in this project. It's being designed by a company. Secretary Buttigieg wants to pay for it from the federal government. Literally, it's a free bridge. Now, so we're moving on that project. And it's something that it's a free bridge for when there's a train stop. Thank you, I appreciate it. But we're grappling with, we really want this, and I think that's something we have to talk about with the public is, because when there's not a train stop there, it's literally going to be a bridge sitting there that nobody uses because there's no train stop there, So we have to talk that one out a little bit more and make sure everybody's comfortable before we move forward. But I tell you, Governor's Parkway, where all systems go. All right, we're waiting for the green light from the state, and so thank you. Any follow-ups on Hessville-related questions? All right. Thank you for correcting me.
Frequent missed recycling pickup. What can be done when
Good question.
recycling is not picked up?
I'm lucky because I leave my cans in the alley. So in that regard, I'm lucky. Common problem, Felix? I know you guys get called with this a lot.
It is.
So let me interrupt real quick. Republic is a private company. We all know that, which makes it more. Back in the old days when we picked up, you could call us and we'd swing a truck over there. Now it's Republic, and they say, see you in 2 weeks.
A lot of the missed recycling issues is because residents not knowing they'll throw garbage in there and they won't pick it up.
Oh, so you're
Zero.
saying it's not misrecycling? They
It,
just
it
saw.
could be, but in some cases, they throw regular trash in.
So if
the,
Republic
recycling
opens it up
bins.
and sees like a dirty diaper on top,
No,
they
they're
just
not
shut it
getting
and go on.
Yeah, correct.
Because it's not recyclable. Dirty diapers aren't recyclable. I don't.
Do they leave a notice or
This
a
is a tough
sticker
crowd
on
today.
the
Dang.
recycle
No.
bin?
What's that?
Do they leave a sticker or a notice on the recycle bin?
Usually they'll call us and then our supervisors will go check and, they'll tag it, or sometimes we'll go dump it or whatnot, but yeah.
It sounded like a personal question back there.
Not for me. It was a follow-up question.
Yeah.
We needed some more questions tonight.
I was trying to think of what I was. Well, we're talking about recycling. Okay. Our recycling rate. We did a study on recycling because I hear about. I look at things, videos on TikTok, and I hear what people say. And there was an article in the newspaper that horribly offended me because a couple other communities decided to get rid of their recycling program, and the mayors of those communities were basically saying recycling's broken. It all goes straight to the landfill anyway. And we're like, shut up. That's not the case in Hammond. In fact, we did a study on this, and I'm about to choke here. So, Megan, are you over here someplace? Do you remember what the results of this study are so I can get a glass of water or something?
Yes, it was a 78% success rate of recycling for the city of Hammond.
What was that again?
78%.
That's what I thought.
Yep.
So our recycling rate is doing really well, but other communities aren't, so they trash the whole idea of recycling. It's like, what are you doing? Recycling's a good thing. I think we could agree. If it's broken in Portage, don't blame Hammond, because we do it right here. When we shifted over to Republic, our landfill costs went down, our recycling rates went up. So we just got to stick to the basics. And I try to tell the people in my family this also. Don't get creative with recycling, okay? Don't be like, oh, this potted plant is all plastic and it's all dirty and everything. They're not going to recycle that. Stick to the basics. The newspaper, your magazines, your aluminum cans, your glass, stick to your basics. It will get recycled. But that stuff that you're hoping they recycle, they're probably not. They're probably going to landfill that. And if Republic recycles it, if they landfill it for us, it costs us more. So be smart recycler. And they called it wishful recycling or creative recycling when we were there. It's like, yeah, I hope they could recycle this. They don't, okay? They throw it in the landfill, so just throw it away and just stick to the basics. And we'll recycle it 77% again.
They also said, when in doubt, throw it out.
When in doubt, throw it out. Pizza boxes are not recyclable. Another one, Domino's. They put it right on the box, recycle. It's like we cannot recycle pizza boxes, okay? They have grease on them, and they'll throw them right in the garbage. So, all right. How are we doing on questions?
Just a few more.
That double latte got me. I'm going to be up till midnight.
No thanks. What is the status on 1021 to 1023 Moss Street? The grass is very tall, and it is bordered up.
Okay. All right. I don't know a specific address off the top of my head. I know where Moss Street is. I'm very good at the map. But if you ask me about a specific house, I just can't picture that house in my head unless it's like a high-profile house. So I'm going to kick over to Kelly Kearney, who's here on behalf of code enforcement today. And the thing about code enforcement is usually they know addresses because they're repeat customers, right?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty positive this is on the demolition list. And if the grass is high, Rob's doing a pretty good job in the 3rd district, I believe. And I'm sure it's been tagged and set to be cut. I believe it is vacant.
So why don't we just talk about this while we're here? It is that time of year. I was jogging today. I saw one of the houses in my neighborhood growing long grass, and I was looking at the windows wondering, I wonder if that house is empty. If you have a situation like that, is it better just call in and just say, hey, you might want to take a look at this because we can get the green tag on it right away, right?
Yes, same day. It also gives us a chance to investigate and find out if the water's turned on, if there's any water usage, what's the situation behind that house, is there a rental, was it a rental? But we have to get a 10-day notice before we can cut it.
So if you want us to cut somebody's lawn, we can't just go out there and cut it, or else I'll go to jail, and I would not be good in jail. So we don't want to do that. So what we do is you call it in, we go to court. We get permission from the court to cut that lawn. And when we get that permission, it's for the whole season, right?
So, Mayor, that was exactly what used to happen, and that was what you challenged us to say. It shouldn't be, the neighbor that calls it in shouldn't have to wait 60 days
Right.
to go to court. And then you said, this needs to get better, and now it's a 10-day abatement letter. So Now it's
How
a
do we
10
get
day.
through that permission?
Yeah, so basically, if you declare it a nuisance, we changed our ordinance, and we made it so that if you declare it a nuisance, and you can, there's a statute that allows you to abate things within 10 days. Because we're not taking anyone's property.
Right.
We're saying, this is a nuisance, you have to abate it. If you don't, guess what? We're gonna cut it, and it's gonna show up on your taxes, and you're gonna have to pay it through your taxes.
So it's not a free cut either, by the way. It's way cheaper for you to cut your own grass. We made sure that we're not the one you want cutting your grass. We don't want to cut your grass, but we're going to if it's a problem. So if you have us cut your grass, we'll get paid, and it's not going to be a good rate.
It's
Okay?
it's a high rate to cut plus a $200 administrative fee.
And it's tacked onto it's a lien on the property. Right?
On the taxes, it comes up on it'll go on your property taxes.
When we started doing it this way, the city cleaned up a lot more. It's harsh, but I'm talking to a bunch of good residents because we're at Mayor's Night Out. This protects us because the bad neighbors that don't want to take care of their house, we'll clean it up, and that makes your quality of life better, and we'll lien their property. We'll get paid. It may take us a couple years, but we'll get paid. Okay, hold on. Let's wait for the microphone. Thank you for the applause. I heard one person.
Yeah, so I have,
Thank you, sir.
I have a follow-up on that. What about, excuse me, a home that's been demoed, so now you've got a vacant property. It seems like there's a home on 163rd Place, it's where I live, it's a vacant property. We have to call it in every year. I don't understand why we have to keep calling it in every
question.
year to have it cut.
Same property every year.
The same property
Same
every year.
problems.
It's vacant.
Okay. Good
It's
question.
demoed.
Love
Yeah.
it. Thank you for the question. Kelly? I know it's seasonal cut. Once we cut it once, we got it for the season. But
Correct.
is it required legally for us to go back each year? And I think a good question for this gentleman is, if we know it's a recurring problem, why can't we just put it on a list and cut it in April and just get it going?
We are responsive to complaints, but at the same time, the inspectors are running their areas and looking for situations like this to take care of themselves. So it may have been tagged, may have been cited. The fact that we'll take the report, we want you to let us know that it's a concern. At the same time, inspectors are doing that on properties that aren't being reported.
Right.
So they cover their areas, tag what needs to be tagged, 10-day cuts for what we need to really get to. You probably don't need to call it in. At the same time, please do.
Yeah.
And so.
But it's private property too, sir. It's not our job to cut that property. And you're saying it's this problem is every year, right? But it's not our responsibility. So every year we have to like reauthorize those cuts.
It's privately owned, then you're saying it's a privately owned property.
I'm assuming it is. This is usually what we're talking about.
When there's a demolition, the property doesn't transfer. The city's only operating under the Unsafe Building Act. So it demolishes the property, but the ownership stays with the owner. Now, if it continues to go like that, eventually that property is going to go up on tax sale if they're not paying their taxes. And if it's somewhere like, let's say it's next door to your house, you could bid on the tax sale and get it for the taxes.
We do that with homeowners a lot, sir. So if it's your next door neighbor, we ask that you just like fence it in and make it like a big yard. We do that all the time. So if it makes sense in that regard, you approach us, we'd be all ears because we wouldn't have to cut that lot anymore and you get it for cheap, you know? Councilman, do you have something?
Can we also talk about redevelopment owned properties? Because I know they're a bit different than if it's privately owned by a resident.
Ann, you want to hit that one?
Yeah, the Redevelopment Commission owns dozens of residential vacant lots around the city. You would just give our office a call. We are on the website, gohammond.com, and we can start the process if you are interested in purchasing.
Do you
one
have
of
this
these
problem
lots.
with the redevelopment properties?
If we do what?
I mean, you have like a whole fleet of properties getting
Yes.
cut, right?
That's correct. Yeah,
Right.
we have all the cuts available. Yeah, we cut those.
Okay. Are they on like a schedule or?
Yes, they are every two to 3 weeks.
Okay. All right. Let's move on.
Can anything be done about the property that is located at the corner of 173rd and Monroe? It is an eyesore. It used to be a lock or key business.
I'm trying to picture it in my head. I can't, but this is a good, so if we don't have a lot to say about it right here, because I can't in my head picture what this looks like, I'm sure Kelly and the inspectors know what you're talking about. We do follow this up. That's why it's written down on a piece of paper with your address, and then it goes to Constituent Services, it goes to Code Enforcement. We will follow these up. That's why having it written down. You know what they're talking about?
Yes. familiar with the property. It's been vacant as a storefront for a long time, but there is a residence behind that, and honestly, I don't know if it's occupied or not. It seems to be well maintained for the most part.
Yeah.
It's just been sitting vacant for a long time.
Yep. Okay.
There's also a cut and clean next door.
Okay. We'll follow that up.
Are there any unused buildings, school buildings, etc., that can be turned into an FOP lodge for our wonderful Hammond Police Department
I'd love that.
officers?
Thanks. Hammond FOP Lodge, they used to be out where Dowling Park is now, and I spent a large part of my childhood out there in the baseball fields watching everybody play and going to the FOP, and it's a great place. I'd love to see the police. We've talked to the police and the fire unions about having a physical presence in Hammond. Now a school building probably a little too large unless they grew dramatically, but there's a lot of buildings in the city of Hammond that would be a great lodge in my opinion, and we've talked to the FOP a number of times about it. We've talked to the fire department a number of times about it, and we're all ears. So, I don't know. Hey, Scott.
Mayor, can I mention that one misconception I hear a lot is why don't we just sell the underutilized school buildings? And I've heard you talk about this before, but there is this dollar charter law in Indiana that prevents even us transacting directly with the city on a deal right now. So that remains a challenge for us.
And you guys filed a lawsuit on that case too, right? Or you're litigating it, right?
We did. It ended up getting, we ended up losing at the appeal level. They basically didn't even rule on the merits of the case. They just said, because you're in a municipality, you can't sue the state over this issue.
Yeah.
So.
Right. It's so basically, if, let's say Superintendent Miller wanted to sell Cabot High School to the city of Hammond, all right? He would, before he sold it to us, and we would do great things with Cabot High School. I could make deals with Purdue Northwest. We could do all kinds of things with this great piece of property right off the highway. But before Superintendent Miller could sell it to us, he has to offer it to a charter school for $1. So what if a charter school buys it for $1? Let's talk about that. Cabot High School costs a lot more than $1 to build. That means we lose. That charter school gains a $10 million building, $5 million building for $1. So they get rich off of us, our investment. We lose all that money. Taxpayers do. And Superintendent Miller gets the lovely thought of another school opening and taking students from him. So what does that encourage superintendents to do? Sit on these buildings until this stupid law goes away. Because it's not in his best interest to put it up for sale, because if it goes for sale, it could get bought by a charter school. And they could steal 500 students from the school city. And we'd have to lay off even more teachers. It's impossible. The state doesn't, they pass laws and they don't think about the impact. It's a dumb law. And they've done everything they can to try to get rid of it, and I don't blame them. It's a really tough situation. It really is. It's sad.
That was my question, and I was just wondering, though, what about the old fire station on 165th in Hessville? I heard the school system doesn't want that property.
Yeah.
Is there some way they can give it back to us so we could turn that into an FOP?
Well, actually, we had a deal with School City. We moved the firehouse over to the new location, and it's always been school property where that firehouse is. And we actually recently made a deal that's coming down because we had some people breaking into it and stuff like that. So that's coming down real soon. Yeah. So I apologize if you're a history buff, but I drove out there one time and I went to the back and I saw the door popped open and it was obvious that people were inside of it. And I'm like, nope, it's a beautiful neighborhood, a school right there. We can't have it. So, all right. Thank you for the question.
And just, Mayor, one last thing on that property is that we have an agreement with the school city that once it comes down, that actually that parcel goes to the school city because they gave us where Station 8 is.
Yep. Thank you. By the way, going back to the superintendent and the question the lady asked about schools, we have worked together to be creative with that law, like Clark High School. I don't want to get superintendent in trouble, so I'm just going to talk hypothetically, okay? So hypothetically, if a school like Clark High School went for sale, they have a $1 charter law that says you can't put a school up for sale. He has to offer for $1 for charter schools. Okay. What if he puts the parking lot up for sale? Nothing in the law about that. So Hammond bought the parking lot at Clark High School, and we're putting a neighborhood there. So what happens now at Clark High School? Let's say superintendent puts Clark High School up for sale, and somebody buys it for $1 and says, ha-ha, I'm putting a school here, and we're going to steal your students, superintendent. They're going to come to the city and say, we want to put a 500-person student school at Clark High School, and we're going to say, great, where are they going to park? So if we have to get creative, I know there's been some support from the school city that they want to help the city move forward, but they don't want to get themselves in trouble with this law. We're trying to think of creative ways around it, okay? We did a creative way around it in Clark, but it was easier there because it was so separated. The parking lot was literally a couple blocks away from the school. It'd be a lot harder at Gavitt. It would be obvious what we were doing if we sold the parking lots and we kept the building there, but this is what we're having to resort to because of this law. And I know Representative Jackson does everything she can, hitting her head against the wall trying to help us. So it's just, and I know she knows about this law. We've talked about it a number of times. So thanks for being here again, Rep. All right, Eileen.
What is your take on Microbac Laboratories, who is used by the city's water and sewer maintenance departments to test our water? Are you aware of the fines and violations they faced for falsifying test results?
No. But, Jaime? Mark? I saw Mark. Hey, Jaime, what's up?
Hello, Mayor.
Oh, this is a good one.
Oh, this is a good one. I'm not going to get too much into it.
Okay, hold on. So let's do big picture stuff before we get into the specific, okay?
Yes, sir.
We test water how often?
Every day.
Every day. Do you take it from where?
Multiple times a day.
Multiple different-
Every location from north to the south.
Of course, and it's required by law.
Absolutely.
And we get it tested every day?
Every day.
Okay. So this lab, so we have our own people testing it, I thought.
We do test, but we also send out per IDEM, Indiana Department of Environmental Management. It's all chain. It's called chain of custody. So we get the samples, we send it to Microbac. Microbac sends it to IDEM. IDEM certifies it.
Is Microbac, they just do Hammond or they do?
No, they're nationwide.
Okay.
They have a they are located in Maryville in this area, but they are nationwide.
How long have we been doing business with this company?
As long as I know.
Yeah, okay. So now let's talk about this issue. Are you aware of what they're talking about? Because this is the first I've heard.
Same.
Okay, interesting. All right, we're gonna go to you. Help us out here. Audience question. All right, maybe they left. So, Jaime?
Yes.
I know for a fact that Lake Michigan water is some of the purest water, and I'm not going to say the world, but
I'd say the world.
It's pretty pure.
It is.
It's beautifully pure water, and we're blessed with that. That's one of the best things about where we live. Let's be honest, is we have water security for the next century. There's not many people that can say that in the world right now. We have water security, and it's pure, and we're blessed in that regard, right?
Absolutely.
And we test it regularly.
Absolutely.
We have customers all over the Chicagoland area. We're watched by IDEM, US EPA.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm just making sure we're doing everything right.
We're doing it, and if we're doing something wrong, then we'll hear about it, and you'll hear about it.
Of course.
And then I'll hear about it again.
Gotcha. So, and I can't remember, I've been mayor a long time, I can't remember one time ever having to call the Hammond residents and say, you have to boil your water or anything like that. I've been mayor a long time. I can't remember one time having to do that.
We have a good crew when it comes to water main breaks. We have hundreds of years of experience. It's a good team.
Okay. All right. So we're going to go to the audience. I don't know if you have questions about this issue, but we're going to follow it up, I promise. But McLaughlin, you know anything about this? I love that look. He's like, what? I'm just drinking my coffee.
Sure. About the Microbac?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. We took that very seriously. Yesterday we had a conversation with Microbac. They had never heard this assertion, but we sent them the letter.
Oh, okay. So this letter came to you guys yesterday, and it's coming to mayor's night today.
Yeah, and,
Okay.
and Microbac wants to, they think it might be another Microbac somewhere,
A competitor, you mean?
but it's not the one that we use.
Oh, you think it's a company named that, but it's not the
Could
one
be,
we use.
or maybe it's a different, somewhere a Microbac division in another part of the country. But we've agreed to use any testing agency that the resident wants to use.
Okay.
But yeah, so we've tested it ourselves. We've had what we considered an independent agency, Microbac, test it. And now we're just waiting to have the resident arrange a time for another of their choosing agency,
Okay.
testing agency.
Cool. Anybody follow that up? We got good water. Hammond Water is making the city about $25 million a year in revenue right now. And it's mostly out-of-town money doing that. I realize we pay for our water rates. One of the reasons we raise water rates on Hammond residents is because every contract we have with our customers is pegged to us. So if we're never willing to raise water rates on our own residents, that means that the residents of Chicago Heights, the residents of Lansing, the residents of Cal City, the residents of all of our customer communities, their water rates stay cheap too. And they don't get water cheap, that's the funny thing. So if I sell water to Lansing on the cheap, they're still gonna sell it expensively to their residents and they'll make the money. We took that money back to our city. We fund programs like College Bound with it. It's helping fund our police and firemen, $25 million a year. Probably in the next year or two, we'll have more water revenue than gaming revenue. And once that happens, it'll never go back. That's where gaming revenue is going. Gaming revenue is going down. Water revenue is steady and going up. And as I've said before, and I'll say again, 10 years from now, I promise you this. I don't know what the state of gambling is going to be, but we'll all be drinking water 10 years from now, okay? So I think Hammond's got a great future, and water revenue is part of that. So thank you for the question. We take it very seriously. We work hard on our plant. We're doing, in the water plant right now, millions of dollars worth of renovations, right?
One project alone, we're above $7 million. We got another project that will probably be starting up in the next couple months. That'll be probably another $3 to $4 million.
And we just got done in the filtration plant doing all of our electrical upgrades.
The electrical upgrade in 2019 and 20, that was about $7 million.
So we take water very seriously. It's our future. So, all right. Yes, sir. Hi, Councilman. Could we wait for a microphone? It's always the ones furthest away. Bob Markovich, nice to see you, sir.
So it used to be we sold water to Munster, and they in turn sold it to somebody else and made a profit off of it. Can Lansing and everybody else who we sell water to can still do that? Or once we sell water to somebody, are they allowed to sell it to somebody else and make a profit off of it?
Great question, Councilman. No, they're not allowed to. But when I took over, that was a common problem. We would sell water to Munster. I'm just going to use round numbers. For 50 cents, 1,000 gallons. So we'd sell it to Munster for 50 cents, and then Munster would sell it to Lansing for $1.30. And Munster would make 80 cents on every 1,000 gallons of water that we gave to them. Hammond, nothing. Because 50 cents that we were charging us, it would cost us 75 cents to make the water. So the more water we would sell to Munster, the more they would sell to Lansing, and the more we'd lose. That was going on for a long time. We straightened that all out over time. We made it so that if you're a customer of the water company, you're a customer only. You cannot resell it. Only one city is allowed to resell that water, and that's Chicago Heights, and we made a deal with them to do that. Okay? So I appreciate that question. It's a great question, and we did fix that over time.
So why is Chicago Heights still getting away with that?
We made a deal with them. They have two different contracts with us. One contract is a user, and it's higher rates, meaning that's their consumption contract. And then another contract, we gave them water for marketing. We're like partners with the second contract. So if Chicago Heights brings in Olympia Fields or brings in Homewood Flossmoor, they get to share the money with us. We're like partners. Because we can't do any of these deals in Illinois without Chicago Heights. So we made a deal with Chicago Heights to be partners in water.
So that second deal, whatever money they make off of it, we get half of it or a percentage of that?
It's around $2 and they're selling it for around $4. So it's right around half and half, give or take a couple cents here and there. But yeah, that is like Mayor Gonzalez and Chicago Heights is our partner in Illinois with the new water sales. And that was smart in our case. By the way, Councilman, we had litigation with Chicago Heights back in the day. So not only did we turn that around, we turned into business partners, and he's doing a real good job for us in Illinois right now. So thank you for the question. It's a really good question. Any other water? All right.
A Golden Manor resident would like to get an update on the balcony situation.
Okay, Golden Manor was, it's a building that was built while I was mayor. It was a deal made with a company that mismanaged it for a decade. And part of the mismanagement process led to us filing a lawsuit and ultimately taking it over from them. In the process of that mismanagement, that company tore off all the balconies because they were unsafe. And so we took over a building, all the balconies have been torn off, we got control of the building, and there's a lot going on. And of course, we have residents living there, and they're our customers. It's a mess. We finally got control of the building. I know this is a big issue for Carmen.
Yes, it is. It was actually 15 years, well, 14 and a half.
That they were in control?
Mismanagement, yes.
Right.
So, yes, we got control over the property. So now what we have to do is do a refinance, and there's a tax credit deal that has to go through in order for us to get the funding to do anything to the building. The building itself has basically no funding on its own, so we have to leverage some funding in order to put back the balconies and do the repairs that are needed for that building. It's not nice and easy as one would want, because there's a lot more that has to go into it. It's not only the balconies, I'm sure the resident knows, there's a lot of other issues in the
I'm
building
sure.
that have to be addressed.
It was mismanaged for a long time.
A very long time, yes.
It's weird. It's like, if you're a landlord and you buy a building that needs work, you have options as a landlord. Some landlords are like, I'm not putting a penny in this thing. I'm just going to milk it for everything I got. And they put a family in there and they just have them pay rent and they never invest in it. And then some landlords take it over and they're like, I'm going to invest in this. I'm going to change everything and we're going to make it so that it's good for a long time. Well, unfortunately for us, the previous management company, they milked it. And we finally got control. We were working with the residents the whole time and it's a mess. And Carmen, could you do me a favor? Could you set up a meeting with me on this? We'll get it. I would say have Phil there, but I'll just have to do this one on my own. So we'll have Kevin and me and you there on this, okay?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
A follow-up to Golden Manor, will Golden Manor residents be receiving security cameras in the building or throughout the building?
Well, that would be, I imagine, something we're going to have to talk about in relation to the last question as well.
Yes, but we do have security cameras on the outside of the building. We don't have them on the inside of the building, but there are cameras on the outside. Yes.
Okay. So to the residents of Golden Manor, I appreciate you being here. I'm glad that we finally got control of your property. We have a lot of work to do. I acknowledge that. And it's going to take money, and that's hard. So, but I promise you we're working on it. I'm going to set up a meeting with Carmen in the next week, and we'll get to the bottom of what's going on. So
Last question of the night.
that's my favorite one.
Can the city provide a workout center in the Hessville area? Hessville or Gibson Park, possibly?
Love. Great. Well, first off, I'm going to point out I'm a big fan of Dowling Park. It's an outdoor workout facility, and it's an indoor workout facility. I'm also a big fan of the YMCA. We got a $70 million YMCA going up right next door. And the problem with, that's a great thing, but the problem with a $70 million YMCA going next door is anybody who wants to compete with that is going to be competing with a brand new $70 million facility. We have people talking about pools in other parts of the city, and they're going to build an outdoor water park right here. It's like, I think we have to sort of like get our feet on the ground with the new Y and then sort of feel out what we need after that, because I have a feeling if the Y is correct, and they did it in Crown Point, they said their population doubled when they opened the new Y. So if that happens, that means about 20,000 people are going to join the new Y, 20,000 more people. And a lot of them are probably going to be Hessville residents. So why don't we wait a few, we'll get this new Y open. They said the new Y is going to be open in December, right, Phil? Yes. So the new Y will be open in December. Let's see who joins. Let's see how crowded it is. Let's see what opportunities are still out there, and we'll figure it out. However, in Hessville, I do want to say that we're taking a serious look at pickleball right now. Serious look at pickleball at the Gene Shepherd Center and at Dowling Park. Outdoor courts, indoor courts at the Gene Shepherd Center. We're taking a serious look at that. When I say that 3 times, that's how serious we're looking at it, okay? And I think Pulaski Park is also getting a close scrutiny as well. So we are always constantly pushing issues. So, yes, sir. Nice, thank you.
Yes, I'm just talking like you have behind City Hall, just a little workout.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
something
those
like
are-
that in one of the Hessville parks. I asked you, in fact, I don't put you on the spot, but
All right.
2 years ago, and
Yeah.
you thought it was a great idea.
I still
so
think it's a great idea.
You know, let's, where are we going with it?
You know what's
So-
interesting is your councilman sitting right behind you. I'm going to get together with that guy,
Yeah.
and we're going to talk about
And by the
this.
way, I want to say that what they're doing with the Gibson Park playground, it's fantastic.
Thank
It
you.
looks absolutely great.
I love our parks.
And there's a lot of people that walk that park, walk Hessville Park, and walk the Lost
I
Park.
do remember when
and
you
it'd
asked
be
me
nice
about
to
this.
have a little workout.
I remember this exact
Okay,
conversation.
there you are.
And I reacted the same exact way. It's like, that's a great idea. It's still a great idea. 2 years later. All right, I'm going to follow this up. I appreciate it, okay? Could you make sure I get a copy of that one, Alex? And then I'm going to get a copy to Councilman Reyka so we can talk about it, okay? Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here. That's the last question? Councilman, you got anything?
Yeah, I got just a couple things I wanted to touch on. One is we talked a lot about parks tonight, and I know that there's a strategy, a long-term strategy in terms of renovating a lot of our parks. I just want to acknowledge that we can't do every single park at the same time. I know that Mayor, your administration was taking a strategic approach to moving around the city to improve parks kind of a district at a time. Harrison Park has been a passion project of mine since before I was in office, and so I do want to provide an update for residents in terms of where we are with that project. And Jim, please grab the microphone because I'm going to ask you to chime in a second. But we were recipients of a $100,000 matching grant from the DNR to renovate or to improve upon the pond at Harrison Park. And I know a lot of people in this room probably remember the glory days of Harrison Park where you could fish there and spend a lot of time maybe walking across the bridge that was there. And so the matching grant, I know, Mayor, you graciously decided to contribute half of that matching grant. So between 3rd District Gaming Funds and your funds, we'll be matching the $100K. And then we're also looking for additional funding to be able to complete that project. But there's a liner that is going to be going into that pond to make sure that it sustains water, that the water can circulate, and that it can sustain wildlife in the future. And so we're really excited about that. We're trying to figure out where there's a bit of a budget gap, so we're trying to figure out where the rest of that funding is coming from. Dean will probably be coming in front of CIB sometime this year. HSD, there's some sewer work that needs to get done, so I'm putting everybody on the spot right now, and even Mark, we might even be coming to you in terms of the water department maybe contributing a small portion of that for a well that we have to put to once again make sure that water is circulating and up to code. But Jim, can you also talk about kind of just anything I left out in terms of kind of where we are and maybe timing of when the work might start?
I think you hit on everything. We did some testing in there because there was some flooding in there that we were checking on. So I know the pond is down a little bit right now, and people weren't happy. But this is a project that we've been working on to see how the rain and everything factored into the flooding that we were seeing. So
isn't it the turtles that eat the cords, and that's what killed the pumps out there? I always heard something. Isn't that how the pumps went out? That's what Pat always told me.
No, we turned the pumps off. We didn't know that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we didn't. We learned that the pump had been running for a long period of time. So
I'm going back to when Pat was the head of the park department. That's what he always said. At Memorial Park is like they would get eaten by animals, basically.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, maybe he was messing with me. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be.
You guys are looking at me funny right now. I'm thinking he was messing with me.
I'm thinking you're messing with me, is what I said.
No, I'm not messing with you. All right.
All right. Thanks, Jim.
I love Harrison Park. It's a great park.
The other thing I was just going to say is that, Phil, I know you and I recently had a conversation about Harrison Park and how it ties into the downtown Hammond plan and how we might be able to bring in Jeff Speck to take a look at the park to figure out what additional improvements we can make there to make sure that it fits in with the entire vibe and developments that we want to go into downtown Hammond as well. So excited about that conversation. The other thing I want to touch on is Memorial Park. And for those of you that don't know, there was a proposal that came across to turn Memorial Park, which is in a Pullman community of the 3rd District, into a senior facility that I think will have about 100 units, 118 units, as well as some single-family homes and duplexes kind of on the exterior of where that senior facility is going to go. And so, Ann, can you touch on maybe where we are with that project and a potential timeline for groundbreaking?
Yes, we have a signed purchase agreement with the developer, Gorman and Company. We had a meeting with them a week ago, preliminary meeting on the senior housing and the townhomes, so that's great. That's going to be probably breaking ground. They're receiving federal and state tax credits, so that's a process. We probably won't see groundbreaking for those buildings for at least a year and a half. But in the meantime, we can work on the single-family homes because the city owns those parcels.
Thanks. And sorry, Kevin. I know we talked about maybe the process that we will open up for the auctioning off of those units. Can you talk about what that could look like potentially, maybe in comparison to what we did at Clark?
Sure. Thank you, Councilman. One other thing that is going to go forward, because again, American Rescue dollars, thanks to you, the council, and the mayor, have assigned some dollars there to help build the street that will also allow access into the single-family homes. But to answer your question, so we've done it a couple different ways. Ann's department has, and the mayor has. And sometimes we've opened up those lots to developers and allowed them to say what their vision is for it. There's probably too many to do that in this instance. What is it, Ann, 28 or 28 to 30 lots? And as you know, up in Robertsdale, the mayor had a couple community meetings before we did it. And I think probably we'll do the same. And but they will be available to the residents just like they were up in Clark. And of course, the mayor and Ann will give us some direction, and you, as to what the preferred way to do it is. But we really think that that can be platted, and those can start going out and available to residents later this year.
We had a community meeting up there once already too. So, yeah. Cool. All right.
Hey, Mayor, I got one more thing over here.
Yeah. Hey, Matt.
Hi, Mayor. So very quickly, the Mayor's Commission on Disabilities annual blood drive is Friday, June 14th from 12 to 5 right here at the Hammond Sportsplex in the community room, which you just walked by when you walked in. So that's Friday, June 14th from 12 to 5. Please donate blood. All blood, the blood drive goes to local hospital.
Say that again, Matt.
All the blood donated at the blood drive goes to local hospitals.
Nice.
So it's a really good thing to do. Again, Friday, June 14th.
June 14th, Friday, right here. Thank you, Matt. Sharon, how's it going?
Fine, how are you?
Sharon's personnel from the city of Hammond and College Bound. I have a feeling she's going to say something for College Bound.
It is on College Bound. Deadline for students, returning students that are in college or our high school graduates is Wednesday, July 3rd. City Hall closes at 4:30. No deadline extensions given. So Wednesday, July 3rd, applications must be in the College Bound office.
Don't miss it.
Don't miss it.
Wednesday, July 3rd. I'm texting my kid right now. That's like my nightmare. My kid misses the deadline. So, all right. I appreciate everybody. It was a great mayor's night out. 3rd District never disappoints. Thank you for being here, everybody. Thank you to my department heads. Thank you to our interpreter. We appreciate you being here. Again, to Jim and Kim and all the Sportsplex staff, thanks for making the facility available. And the next mayor's night out is in the 4th District, Edison Elementary School on August 28th. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy your summer.